Dongarra. I work at the University of Tennessee and Oak Ridge National Lab and have a position at the University of Manchester in the UK. I've been attending supercomputing since the beginning. In fact, I was one of the original people who helped get that meeting started. I guess I was on the steering committee for the first year along with George Michaels and Bill Busby and a whole collection of other characters. And it was an exciting time then as it is today. I view supercomputing as really the homecoming for the high-performance computing industry in some sense. It's a place where everybody attends the meeting. There's a great atmosphere of excitement and new product announcements and looking ahead as well as looking behind and trying to remember what some of the memorable people and perhaps some of the people who are no longer with us and their contributions to supercomputing. So in my mind, it's a wonderful opportunity to meet people, to expose new ideas, and to learn about what is really going on in the area of high-performance computing today. If I had to look back and think about some of the most memorable times at supercomputing, it was clearly, Seymour Cray's address. I guess it was in 1988 where he gave the keynote at supercomputing and really did a remarkable job of setting things in motion for one of the first opportunities for the group to get together. The meeting has grown over time. We have a tremendous outpouring of support for the meeting. I've been involved in various aspects of the meeting, contributing to helping, promoting, and really furthering high-performance computing and supercomputing over a 25-year history.
I'm Sherry Pancake, and I am chair of SIG-HPC. I have been attending SC since 1989, and I've been on the organizational committee since 1990. The first time SC was in Denver, which was in SC01. One of the moments that made that very special to me was something that happened on the exhibit floor. A unique feature of SC is that active research is actually conducted on the exhibit floor, and it often involves parties from industry, academe, and research laboratories. And I remember going back to one area, and they were doing a demonstration of what could be accomplished with remote medicine or telemedicine. And they had a briefcase-sized object that actually did a scan so that it didn't require any medical knowledge to operate, but somebody would operate it and you would put your arm out or your leg out depending on what they were looking at the time. And in real time, using the wireless network, it would send all the instrument readings to a high-performance computer, which then created an image of what was happening, tomography, so an image of what was going on inside the body. That was transmitted in real time to a third location where there was a specialist on call. It was some kind of osteopath when I did it. And he would tell you things like, you have a hairline fracture along this, or you have this, as a demonstration of how medicine could be brought to remote communities without requiring this special expertise. Since I'm a former Peace Corps volunteer, this really struck me as something that could be of huge potential in developing countries where, in fact, their network are often much better than their infrastructure for medicine or other types of civil infrastructure. And I think the big story for SC and what it characterizes about SC for me is the unique place to go and see research being conducted in real time, what's coming out, what we will be expecting in the next 10 or 15 years, but seeing it now and seeing it happen live with these incredible collaborations between industry, university, and research groups.
Hi, this is Kathy Yelick, and I'm the Associate Laboratory Director for Computing Sciences at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. I've been going to the Supercomputing Conference for more than 20 years, and I think to me the thing that really is memorable about supercomputing is just bringing all of the people in the community together every year for lots of opportunities for impromptu meetings as well as scheduled meetings in which you can talk about technical issues and catch up on strategic issues in the field and where the direction direction is going. And so it's really, I think, a great way of bringing, as I said, the entire community together. When we've struggled in the last couple of years in the DOE lab to send people to the conference because of concerns about budget issues and things like that. And I have to say that the alternative of trying to figure out how we can generate all those conversations without this single institution of supercomputing is really irreplaceable. And I think it's been a great experience for the junior people as well as the more senior people in the field, and really everybody from the vendor community as well as the academic community and user communities and researchers all come together for several days to talk about all of the great things they're doing.
Hi, I'm Horst Simon. I'm the Deputy Director of Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. I've been attending every single one of the supercomputing conferences since the very first one in Orlando in 1988. So I think my most favorite conference continues to be the 1991 show in Albuquerque. The reason it's my most favorite one is because I think that was a transition where the meeting went from a small meeting that was attended by technical experts to the big trade show that it then, of course, has become over the years. I remember that at this meeting I was just, as a very young researcher, amazed about the big show that Thinking Machines put on with a tent and posters and big photographs, and it was just a total different world. I unfortunately got to say my least favorite show was the 2001 show in Denver, which was overshadowed by 9/11, of course, and it's a funny story, but it reflects on the time. Of course, attendance was not very high, and everybody seemed to be still under the impression of the events. My good friend Hans Moyer came to me at the show and he complained because he had bought top 500 pins that you could put on your lapel, and he said all of his pins were confiscated. He couldn't take them on the plane because they're dangerous weapons. So now we can laugh about it, but that was 2001, and it was a show that wasn't that exciting, unfortunately.
My name is Steve Wallach. I'm currently Chief Scientist at Convey Computer in Richardson, Texas. And my experience with supercomputing, the show, actually goes back to SC1. And there were three actually very interesting things about SC1. One, it was the first show. And what was significant is the show started as a result of the people in the industry, the national labs, deciding they needed a correctly vetted show to display technology in vendor booths. Previously, there were some shows that a lot of people felt were not properly organized. They were not vetted by national labs or the IEEE ACM. So the fact it was the first show, and since it was in 1988, my first company, Convex Computer, was growing, and that was the era where almost every other month there was another supercomputer company, Mini Super. So the fact it was the first one. Another interesting thing is my company, Convex, we had a great display. We were expanding very rapidly, and not that I needed it, but I remember at the show I felt like I had an adrenaline drip going on for 3 or 4 days, which made me even more hyper, which was driving everyone crazy. And I remember having 2 or 3 sheets of paper which had me saying where I should be every minute. And at one point they said I had to plan a bio break because they just had me going from the morning to the night. So, the show was exciting and we were excited. And the other last thing, I remember asking the question of Seymour Cray. He gave the keynote. And afterwards, in the hallway, I knew John Rowagan, who was the CEO of Cray. We had met several times. Convex and Cray did a cross-license agreement, so I dealt with John in a business perspective. And Seymour Cray was with him. So I went over, and John introduced me to Seymour, and Seymour Cray looks at me and goes, "What does Convex do?" And I described something, and when I was completed, he goes, "Okay, thank you." Those are total words. But it was the first and only time I met Seymour Cray. So there are a lot of memorable moments with respect to SC1. That's it.
My name is Tom Tabor. I am CEO and founder of Tabor Communications, publishers of HPC Wire. I have been involved with the Supercomputing Conference Series since 1988, the very first one, and all through to the current conference coming up this November in Denver. As I look back on all of these events, it was very difficult for me to identify any one particular anecdote from any one conference or trade show for that matter. There were so many very special and very poignant moments from year to year from the very first one where Seymour Cray spoke to the many that have evolved over the last 25 years. I think for me, the one thing that really stands out is the commitment of the community to high-performance computing. We started with a room of about 1,200 people, and most of those people were there because Seymour Cray was the keynote speaker. And very quickly, we built this event to well over 10, in some years 12,000 professionals worldwide. And the underlying emotion, if you will, because it's a room full of individuals, is this commitment to building the fastest systems in the world that are cornerstone tools to finding solutions that make a real difference in people's lives. So as a community, we stand very tall, knowing that we're there dealing with the grand challenge issues like, curing cancer and finding the cure for AIDS and looking for alternative fuel sources and understanding the cosmos, to things as simple as, making the quality of life better for your father and your mother and your son and your daughter. And as you speak with everyone at these events, what you get is this sense of real connectedness to this community. So the one major contribution that the Supercomputing Conference Series, and HPC Wire for that matter, has contributed is this solid foundation of this community that is focused on building these incredible systems and these incredible tools that truly make a difference in people's lives across a whole spectrum of human issues, challenges, and pleasures. And so for that, I am so very proud to be a part of this community. I'm so very proud of all of the volunteers that have built the Supercomputing Conference Series to the point that it has leveraged all this brilliant technology, all this brilliant hard work, and made it, quite frankly, democratized it to the point where it's now available to nearly everyone worldwide.